And this afternoon we're on the companion ship. Saturday, the 9th of September, about 1:30 in the afternoon, heading south on the Swinomish Slough near Laconnor, and heading down towards Seattle for the Seattle Boat Show. Kind of an overcast day, cloudy, but pleasant cruise so far. Companion ship's a 64-foot West Bay Sonship, built in 2002. And it's been our vessel for the past 10 or 11 years. And we're going to be heading down towards the boat show to see if there's someone who wants to make it a new home. We've had it up to Alaska, I believe 7 times now. And I've taken it around Vancouver Island. Makes a really good exploring vessel. Very comfortable. Basically, it's a condominium on the water. It's got all the comforts of a home, 2-bedroom home, you might say, or condo, and it just moves around 11 or 12 knots very well. Our exploration's taken us pretty much over southeast Alaska, Ketchikan, Wrangell, Juneau, Petersburg, Red Bluff Bay, and Baranof Islands. Last year we went out to Sitka and came down the west side. Really enjoyed a wonderful cruise down the west side, and then crossing over to Cape Caution at the end of that passage. We've had a lot of very interesting people on the boat, interesting cruising that's allowed us to explore out of nooks and crannies. We keep a tender on the boat. It's a Rendova 14-foot with a 40-horse Yamaha. And we launched that, anchor the companion ship, and go off and explore quite a bit. A couple of years ago we went around Vancouver Island and we did something like 260 miles in the Rendova, doing a lot of exploration once we anchored the boat way up in some corners. Turn that down a little bit there. The boat cruises comfortably at 11 or 12 knots. Sometimes we get down as low as 9.5 knots. And that burns about somewhere between 15 to 20 gallons an hour in total. So it's very close to a gallon to an hour for a good part of the cruising. If you need to get going faster, you can get up to around 20, 22 knots. But you want to bring your wallet on those days. I think it goes up to around 50 gallons an hour when you crank it up. But that's not very relaxing, so I prefer to cruise. 11.5 is a good number. 1,250 RPM, 20 gallons an hour. Our capacity on the boat's 1,000 gallons. My bingo level, I go down to 200 gallons, and then we have to have fuel. So it certainly gives you all the range you need to do extensive cruising in the Northwest, and the ability to long legs to make long passages. Fortunately, there's plenty of space to walk around on the boat, stretch your legs, good autopilot system, good navigation suite. We're running 3 or 4 computers on the boat with navigation systems that pretty well precisely tell us where we're at, and we're going through a very, very narrow channel right now that requires pretty good navigation. And this puts us right dead center on the channel. We operate 2 radar systems, one for longer distance, one for shorter. And the shorter distance is really good for going through very narrow passages. We've been through some passages that are not much wider than the boat. Seems hard to imagine, but can be pretty exciting. The passages, we can look at the shoreline and both look straight down and see the rocks, but we usually scout those ahead of time with the boat, with the dinghy, make sure it's a safe passage. I've slowed the boat down a little bit here to go through some of the narrow parts. We're now in the area where there's some homes along the shoreline, and they like us not to be kicking up too much of a wake. We're continuing down the slough. I thought you might like to see part of the navigation suite up here on the bridge. We have an identical suite down below at the lower helm station. We have an ICOM 604 VHF with a DSC interface, and interface to the GPS with a DSC alarm system in it. Simrad rudder indicator, wind indicator, as well as speed and depth indicator. To the right we have a large LCD display, Nauticom, that displays the position of the boat, the green vessel being down here being the boat and the channel we're on. Well, we're also interfaced to Class A AIS on the boat, which provides excellent position awareness of other vessels in the area and other vessels seeing us. Class A being the more preferred method of AIS navigation. It's really works out quite well. Above it is a backup Furuno system that provides both depth and position awareness. And it also is a second display for our radar. So we actually have 3 radar displays in the boat. Below it is our ICOM radar. We tend to use that for short range, narrow passages to make sure we have good clearance on the shoreline on both sides. And to the right there is the ComNav Class A AIS that transmits our position to other vessels so they know where we're at, and in fact shows us where we're going. The boat has 6402 cats in it, the turbo 800 each engine, so 1600 horsepower capability. And we're obviously just idling at this point, doing about 9 knots, but it'll get up at around 3,000 RPM. It'll be pushing this boat up around the 26, 27 knot range. It's about 2:15. We are now south of Laconer, and beautiful little town to go through and see. Someone once told me you can't buy a pair of jeans or a pair of underwear in Laconer. Other than that, you can get a nice drink and a latte and whatever else, but not jeans or underwear. So don't go to Laconer for that, but Costco's down the road. We're westbound right now and just turning southbound, which will put us on target to hit Shell. Be there at about 7 o'clock this evening, doing really good time-wise. This boat's been a fun boat to have. I had planned to, I've had a number of boats, maybe 20 boats or so, and starting with a 16-foot when I was about 11 years old, and really enjoyed them all. I'm convinced the size of the boat is not as important as what you do with it, how you use it. What this boat allowed us to do is to expand our ability to explore farther north in comfort. Doing 7 trips to Alaska. I might mention this was my 18th trip to Alaska on other boats, but 7 on this boat. And by far the most comfortable. The boat's got the hot water, 2 showers, 2 heads, dishwasher, 7 freezers. If you turn them all on, we've got 7 freezers on the boat, and large refrigerator. So plenty of storage for food and supplies without having to run to somewhere, either fuel or water. We have our own water maker on board that's allowed us to keep independent. And the boat's pretty modularly on fuel, so that if you keep it idle down somewhere in 9.5, 10 knots, boy, you can stay out for months with this thing and making its own water and freezer. So it's about as comfortable as you can be on a boat, I think. And I think this particular boat has the right combination for the size. It's small enough you don't need a crew, but it's large enough that you've got really all the comforts of home for sure, and you're able to really enjoy it in comfort. We've got a gyro stabilized TV system on board that allows us to watch our favorite shows with the DVR, and we also have Apple TV, so able to bring whatever movies we brought on the boat with us in our computers. And as electronics evolves, you're continually upgrading the electronics. We've put probably 30 or 40,000 bucks in electronics in it since we got the boat, and it's never ending. There's always one more new thing you need. But we've enjoyed the high-def television, watch football games, and it's got a really good surround sound system in it with the subwoofer, and makes it comfortable for entertaining in the evenings. The last I counted, we have 72 storage locations on the boat. I learned quickly you've got to have an inventory of those, what you put into those locations, otherwise you'll never find it. So we have done a spreadsheet of each of the storage bins, what's there, and you can never have too much top ramen or mac and cheese on a boat. The fly bridge is really great. The view here from the bridge is wide vista. We were earlier in the rain. I don't know, Fred, if you can look out there, but it's just a super wide panoramic view that you have, and makes it really, really nice to be able to see the vista of what you're cruising in. The boat does have the system down below for steering below, but I prefer to be up high. I can see the logs better. These are a STID chair. STID is the finest captain's chair made, and we use it with a great deal of comfort. The trip, we've got another 45 miles to go, and we're now updating it to 6:30 p.m. now that we pointed it south and picking up a little more speed. So that's a continuation of this boat. I might mention we also have all hydraulic systems on board for the bow thruster, and the windlass is got 300 feet of chain with hydraulic lift on it, so it'll handle a lot of chain and a deep anchorage very, very well. That's really important as you go to Alaska, that you've got enough chain to anchor in deep water. And then the crane system that's behind us here allows us to drop our tender in the water very quickly, and being a hydraulic lift, it's very fast down and up. And we actually swing it out, it booms out, and we hang a swing from it, and the grandkids have used that as sort of a tree over the water, if you will, a way to swing out into the water and have fun with the crane system. The hydraulic system in on the thrusters is really important when you're going into high current situations in Alaska, and you want to be able to get the bow into the dock. So typically the way we do the anchoring or docking on this boat is we secure the stern first and then hold the position with the thruster against the dock, and then set the bow line, then the spring and the stern line. So it makes it very easy to dock this boat. There's also a stern steering station or positioning station off the port stern. And in tight quarters, I'll occasionally go down and use that to back the boat into a really tight location. And it's got control of the thruster and both engines down there. So it makes the docking relatively easy. And you can step out onto a swim platform that allows you to step onto the dock. It also has a shower at the swim platform, so if you've been out in the mud or hiking around, it's been very, very useful to be able to wash the mud off the boat, or mud off you when you come back on the boat from doing some exploring.